Auburn signing Percy Lewis makes their offensive line significantly better.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining us as he does every single Friday, we are dapping it up with Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend. Later in the show, Elijah McAllister, former Auburn Jack linebacker. I think it's a great interview and conversation with Elijah, so stay tuned for that. Darrell, Auburn signs that ever-elusive offensive tackle via the portal. They land Percy Lewis, the transfer tackle from Mississippi State. We got wind earlier in the day yesterday that he canceled his visit to Tennessee, and it was kind of down to Auburn and Tennessee. Auburn lands him, a true left tackle who I believe will start at left tackle, and he will make Auburn's offensive line significantly better in 2024.
Yeah, you could read the tea leaves when late last night word came out that he canceled his Tennessee visit that was scheduled for this weekend. It was down to Auburn and Tennessee, so I'm not a recruiting analyst, but even I was able to connect the dots on that one and figure that he was going to – I put in a crystal ball at that point, Zach, that he was going to Auburn. So here's what happens. It is significant and huge on two fronts. Number one, I feel like it significantly improves two positions along the offensive line.
That's it.
You have just gotten better in two spots because you slide Dylan Wade over to guard. And so you've absolutely just gotten better on two fronts on the offensive line. That's huge. One, getting 2 for 1. Secondly, I've said this time and time again, it's a tale as old as time, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Thorne throws right-handed. It's very, very crucial that your left offensive tackle is your best offensive tackle from a pass protection PFF grade. That's your blind side. Peyton Thorne's done a really good job rolling out to the right and escaping pressure. That's where Lewis plays, is the left side, the offensive tackle on the left side. So I really love this because of that. So those two aspects, getting better in two positions on the offensive line and him protecting Peyton Thorne's blind side, to me, make this massive. And he is speaking of massive, a pretty massive dude.
Yeah, 6'8", 345. I mean, he is huge. He is huge. And just looking at what he did at Mississippi State, he's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker based off of everything that I've been able to see. And this guy seems like he's approaching his decision as a pro, as we're kind of seeing for a lot of these upperclassmen via the transfer portal. Darrell, this is huge. So now looking at Auburn's offensive line, let's guess. Going to spring, I think it's going to be Percy Lewis at left tackle. I think it's going to be Dylan Wade at left guard. Connor Lew at center. That right guard, I think, is wide open right now. But right now, I will guess that it's Jeremiah Wright. That's where I'm going to start with right now. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few weeks. Then obviously at right tackle, your starter from a year ago, Xavier Miller, Too Tall Miller. And just to me, not only those 5 guys, but some of the depth that's behind these starting 5 offensive linemen, Auburn is just in such a better situation than they were a year ago. So hats off to the staff and hats off to offensive line coach Jake Thornton for getting these guys here.
Yeah, I think you could put DeAndre Carter in the 2 deep. You could put Sedna in the 2 deep. You could put Muskrat in the 2 deep. I mean, that's where that right guard position, like you talked about, I think Muskrat and Wright are going to have probably the most looked at spring battle is there. So yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, there's depth there. There's 2 deep there. I love it. And I think it's, all along we felt like one more offensive lineman was crucial for Auburn. Mm-hmm. And they got a good one. They got a guy that, here's the thing. You talk about his pass pro being more effective and grading higher than run blocking. Well, that's the area that Auburn needed the most help, in my opinion. I mean, I think your running backs are so elite, they can make a dude miss. I mean, you don't have to have elite pass blocking to get some of these dudes downhill. They've shown
I also
they can
think the scheme helps
with
that.
Amen.
I mean, they were so creative in dialing up, different types of running plays We saw that really in the Iron Bowl for sure and against Georgia. So I think the scheme helps with that. I'm not, and I don't think he's a bad run blocker. I just think he's a better pass protector. And so I'm with you. If you had to pick one, this is the one I would want to.
Especially when you've got a receiving group coming in that we feel like could get some separation, which Auburn's been lacking. To get separation, you need protection. You need to let the play develop. If you got a dude that can protect you on that side and let you step up in the pocket and wait that extra 2 seconds to let these dudes get open, huge. I mean, so great get by Auburn, much needed shot in the arm from the portal at a position of need.
Mm-hmm. And look, all 5 of these offensive linemen, and really, I think there's gonna be 7 or 8 guys that are competing for playing time here, but all of these guys being available in the spring, I think is huge. Like I think that's an underrated thing. And Auburn had that a year ago. I don't think they added, I guess they added Muskrat over the summer.
They did.
And Cinda, they added Cinda like right before fall camp. So all of these guys coming in right before, I guess, as the spring semester is starting is absolutely huge. And I think there's some other guys that they like Tate Johnson, I think will be in the conversation just as staff likes Tate Johnson, which is good. Seth Wilfred, the JUCO player that signed late, I think he'll be a part of the conversation as far as the 2 deep. He may be one of your backup, either left tackle or right tackle. And we keep hearing how much this staff likes Tyler Johnson. I think Tyler Johnson, if they hadn't have gotten Percy Lewis or some offensive lineman via the portal, they felt like they could plug and play at left tackle. I think Tyler Johnson was going to get reps. I think they were going to kind of take some time out of practice to look at him as a starter too. So the fact that now there's this clear 2 deep, I love it. Darrell, like I just think the situation that this coaching staff has built in this room is absolutely tremendous.
You make a great point on Wilfred, because I felt like last year that Too Tall Miller wasn't going to play significant snaps. He did. Similar situation. JUCO kid coming in. So, yeah, I would fully expect Wilfred to be in the 2 deep, along with Tate Johnson, who has already got experience, right? I mean, playing on Auburn's offensive line. You have a true 7, 8, 9 dudes, 2 deep that you can rotate in and out. And that is really significant. That's when you start building depth along your lines of scrimmage, is when you start really competing for championships.
Yeah. And you've got 3 or 4 tackles. You've got 3 or 4 guards. The most irreplaceable guy is Connor Lew.
Yes.
Connor Lew. But Percy Lewis signing with Auburn last night is huge because, like you said, he makes 2 positions better. That entire left side of the offensive line just got a little bit better. All right, Darrell. Recruiting happening this weekend. We'll go over some of the names that we're looking at, and of course, then a conversation with our friend Elijah McAllister. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. The NFL regular season's behind us, but it's time for the postseason, the playoffs. You want to get in on the action. So many parlays, and they make it so easy at FanDuel.com to really bet and play however you want to. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Like I said, it's easy to use. They've got live same game parlays. You can find bets in their new Explore tab, which is really fun. You also can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. That's the best way to find popular parlays. And of course, they have so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Darrell Dapprich, our guest. Could be an exciting weekend on the Plains. Some of the guys visiting this weekend that I'm particularly excited about, and there are several offensive linemen. We'll get to them in a second. But Derek Smith, the wide receiver from Selma. Auburn is leading with this guy based on pretty much everyone you talk to. Marcus Davis is all over this kid. 4-star across the board. Some places list him as an athlete. Some places list him as a wide receiver. But this Derek Smith kid, I think he's the real deal.
Heard a lot of early reports that he is going to be the dude in the state of Alabama as far as receiver. Right now, he's a 4-star. That could change. But I've just heard a lot of people rave about him being the #1 rated receiver out of the state of Alabama. And for us old timers, Ben Abamanu was a kid that came from Selma and was a wide receiver. That worked out pretty good. Liked the kid, looked at some of the, when I saw his name pop 2 weeks ago, that is somebody that Auburn was leading with, I started to just look at some of the things, his measurables and that kind of thing. And I think he's another one that's going to shoot up the ratings, get an extra star maybe. But even if not, even if he doesn't, I love the fact that Auburn could get, stop me if you've heard this before, the number 1 rated receiver in the state.
Oh, yeah.
There's a trend there. I mean, how sweet would it be if Auburn started becoming known over the next few years as wide receiver U?
That's been the thing holding this program back, is passing.
Exactly. So, and receivers. I mean, they haven't put many receivers in the league.
No, you're
Darius
right.
Slayton is doing well.
The passing game as a whole, it just hasn't worked out. So that'd be huge. Derek Smith, certainly one to watch. Potential top 100 player when it's all said and done. And this is the 2025 class. All these guys are 2025 kids. 2 offensive linemen, Darrell, that I'm really excited about. One is Tavares Dice. This is a true offensive tackle. We talk about Percy Lewis's size. Tavares Dice, 6'6", 275. 4-star across the board with the exception of on 3. Everybody else has him as a 4-star. On 3 has him as a 3-star. And it seems like Auburn is leading with this guy. And as many guys as you can get from Langston Hughes High School, just sign it up. If Auburn can create a pipeline out of Langston Hughes, I mean, good luck stopping what Hugh Freeze is building on the recruiting trail.
6'6", 275 tells me he's got a massive frame that can add a lot of weight. I mean, you obviously no one's going to play offensive tackle at the SEC level at 275, but at 6'6", 320, a menace. So nice size as far as framework to add more raw ability, as you mentioned, 4-star, and then that program is churning out dudes that just play at the next level, like you said, Langston Hughes. So this is a nice one. Another trend of getting some guys along the line of scrimmage at the high school level as well. It's nice to get some portal offensive linemen, but you better. The reason why Auburn can go too deep next year is because they finally 2 years ago got stinking high school offensive linemen.
That's right.
And you're watching them come into their own and develop. So that's why they can go too deep. You're never going to be able to go too deep if you have to get 9 dudes in the portal every year from the offensive line. So the reason why Auburn can go too deep this year is because of offensive line recruiting 2 years ago, which was barren. This kid continues in that tradition.
Yep. Another offense, and that is Tavares Dice, the offensive tackle from Langston Hughes.
Great name too, by the way.
Oh, I think so. No need to roll the dice. He's
no dice when you try to get to the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
No dice. Yeah.
Another 2025 offensive lineman. This player, more of an interior guy, probably a guard at the college level, but Mal Waldrop, 3 stars pretty much across the board. Rivals has him as a 4-star, but look, this is a kid from Central Phoenix City. Alabama really wants this kid, and I think Alabama is the favorite, but I think it was Cole Pinkston that wrote about it a few weeks ago. Like, Mal Waldrop, he likes Auburn. He likes Auburn and the staff. And, I think Cole kind of added the caveat. I was like, look, I'm not picking Auburn right now, but he keeps paying attention to what this staff is doing. And so he's worth watching. And obviously you talk about building a pipeline. Auburn's got to figure out how to build a pipeline at Central. Get as many kids from Central as you possibly can. Mal Waldrop, 6'4", 280, the interior offensive lineman from Central. He's expected to visit this weekend.
Sometimes a 3-star at a particular school is more valuable or more important than you get that maybe a low 4-star from a school in, let's say, Mississippi. And Central Phoenix City is one of those areas. Since the time Auburn swung and missed on Jevion Cohen and thought he was coming to Auburn and he flipped and went to Alabama, you want to continue that pipeline. So I don't give a crap that he's a 3-star in most services. A 3-star offensive tackle from that, or offensive lineman from that school, is crucial because, like you said, the pipeline, you keep it going. Plus, that they're used to winning culture and playing at a high level of football. So it's more important to me where he's from in this scenario than what as far as an extra star.
Yeah, good point. It's kind of like Caleb Harris in this class. It's like, yeah,
Yes,
he's a 3-star, but
from Thompson.
he's very
Amen.
good. And if you're good at Thompson, you could be good at the next level. There's no question about it. So similar thing with Mal Waldrop, the interior offensive lineman from Central. And it's like, look, Mal, you enjoyed playing with Cam Coleman before, I'm sure. Come do it again.
And Gentry is here. Familiarity with Dylan Gentry.
That's right.
The preferred walk-on, that's there. Familiarity matters, and I love it.
Yep. Another guy that's coming, Andrew Maddox. He's a defensive lineman from Oak Grove over in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 6'3", 270. Ole Miss kind of seems to be the favorite right now, but on threes, Jeffrey Lee reporting that he'll be in here in Auburn this weekend as well. And it sounds like all these kids are going to be doing their thing throughout the day. And then that 5:00 tip against LSU, let Bruce Pearl's program kind of do a little bit of the selling for sure.
It's beautiful. That is where the absolute camaraderie and the chemistry between programs, people can't undersell or oversell it enough. When you're a high school kid and you're going to sit there in that environment and see that the love that fans give Auburn athletes, I think it's impactful. And I think that, when Auburn gets it rolling from a football standpoint again, you'll see the flip side of that if Bruce Pearl has basketball players at some of the football games. Same thing. It's infectious. It gets in your blood, and it becomes something that you really, really remember. It's huge. It's absolutely huge to be able to use them and use the basketball program as a recruiting tool.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So that is Andrew Maddox, the defensive lineman from Oak Grove in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. All 2025 kids. We'll see if Auburn gets closer to sealing any of the commitments from these guys over the weekend. Darrell, before we jump into our conversation with Elijah McAllister, good stuff. You don't want to miss it. How can people check out everything you've got going on, and how can they hear from you over the weekend?
Well, first of all, you can follow me on X, which I hate saying that. I'd much rather say Twitter, but DAP6410. And then, hey, man, after that LSU game Saturday, you and I will go live on the postcast. And it will be nice to not go live when the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon is playing in the other room. It'll be nice to go live at a decent hour. We don't mind doing it. We love it. People like to bask in the glow of a win. So we'll be doing that Saturday night after the LSU game, hopefully celebrating another dub.
Yep, no question about it. All right, so coming up, Elijah McAllister talks about the future of this program, who can step up, and so I think a lot of good stuff you want to hear about Hugh Freeze as well. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You want to download the Game Time app. It's the best way to buy tickets. Look, you're excited about going to all these events. You don't want to be stressed out and worried about buying tickets to your next big event. They've got great last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They are so confident that they will give you the best price for your ticket. They offer, what do they call it again? They offer it the Game Time guarantee. So that means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets cheaper somewhere else that are in the same section and row, they will credit you 110% of the difference. So head over to Game Time right now. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. We're now joined by Auburn Jack linebacker, former Auburn Jack linebacker, Elijah McAllister. So thankful for your time, man. And it's been cool to see over this past year since you've been here at Auburn. I mean, you kind of hit the ground running. I mean, named captain and then just became loved by the Auburn family. I mean, it feels like you've been here so much longer than just this past year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks volumes to, my consistency and how I show up every single day, and then the opportunity that my teammates and coaching staff gave me coming here, from Vanderbilt and, being able to lead, allowing my teammates allowing me to lead them, and the coaches giving me the authority to do that as well through my consistent actions. It's been amazing just to be able to be a part of the Auburn family. And I feel like you said, I've been here for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is an incredible compliment and testament to you. No question about it. You talk about leadership. Last time you and I spoke one-on-one was at SEC Media Days, and you talked about leadership and coming in, and you kind of hinted at it there. Hugh Freeze talks about leadership publicly all the time, and I'm sure a lot of head coaches talk about it, but it seems like Coach Freeze talks about it publicly more than others. Were those kind of some of the things that you and him talked about maybe in his office when you guys were prepping for the season?
Yeah, I would talk to Coach Freeze a lot and other coordinators and position coaches about what they need from me as a leader, how I can best benefit the team, and what I can do to elevate our play on the field on Saturday and our practice through Monday through Friday. Leadership is important. It's a unique skill that people need to have in order to be successful in this game. It doesn't have to be just the captains or the coaches or the coordinators. It needs to be everybody. Everybody has to have some type of leadership quality within them in order to lead themselves first, lead their position group, and then try to lead their side of the ball. And in turn, it'll filter through the whole team. So leadership is important to me, obviously, but I definitely met with Coach Freeze weekly or every other week just to kind of figure out what he needed from me in order to best service the team.
So when you were looking at schools after you entered the portal, when you were done with your time at Vandy, you could have gone several places. Why did you pick a place where it was a clear kind of rebuilding situation? It's a first-year head coach and a new coaching staff. What stood out about Auburn for you to say, yes, this is where I want to be?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is the tradition and the fan base that we have. I mean, everybody knows that this place can be a top-tier college football program because it has been in the past and more recently than people want to give it credit for. And I think, that vision of, setting that foundation for the future helped, lead me here. And then the fan base here. I love Auburn. I love the people around Auburn. I love the fans. I love the community. I love the food places. I love everything about Auburn. Like I said, I feel like I've been here for years. And those two things that kind of stuck out to me as well. Then the relationships, I had built, throughout the recruitment process with Coach Freeze, and just being able to have the ability to lead and come in and, set the foundation for the future. It was important to me because, I'm a person that likes to, set foundations, be a pioneer for certain things, and continue to do that in a positive way.
Seemed like there were several guys in your transfer portal class that was like that. Gunnar Britton came on the show last week, and he told me he was telling some of the high school commits that were coming in that he got to meet. He's like, look, I'm not going to win an SEC championship here, but you are. And I mean, that's a pretty powerful mindset to be aware of. Like, look, I'm happy to pave this foundation for you guys because that's what I wanted to be a part of. I mean, what's that mindset like? Because I mean, you pretty much just said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in life is all about sacrificing. Sacrificing your own personal, things for the greater good of somebody else is important. And sacrificing my time, my last college career per se, and a season that some may look at as like, well, it wasn't a positive, but for me, I got the opportunity to lead. I got the opportunity to touch and impact so many younger kids and so many kids throughout the roster that are on the team now, and then the future commits and recruits coming in, that they know that they have the belief systems within that locker room, belief systems within their families, within their heart, that they can and will go win the SEC championship.
What do you think the future of this program looks like, Elijah? And what do you think a realistic timeline should be?
Well, I mean, I tell people all the time, program change happens as fast as the players want it to happen. And to say realistic, I don't really know. It's just depending on what happens inside the locker room. But my belief is in the coaching staff and the players that they're getting through recruiting. And I believe, in 2-3 years, probably 2, especially with the playoff expanding, I think we can see these guys, as guys like Keldrick Folk become juniors and seniors, that class, and the class coming up, the Freeze, potential 5, Zamonte Waller, or Lil Riddick, JoJo, all those guys are, back in their sophomore year, junior year, senior year, they're flirting on, back in the year 2, 3, and 4, because they're players right now, they're only going to get better. So,
how good is this freshman class to just step foot on campus? I mean, they seem pretty solid.
Yeah, I've been around college football a long time. I've seen a lot of freshmen come in through bowl practices, through summer workouts, and come in, try to make their mark, and just seeing the way they move, who they are as kids, and, seeing how they continue to show up every single day with the mindset they wanted to work and get better is important. And obviously the physical tools that God gave them are there. They wouldn't be at Auburn if they didn't have it. But it's about the intangibles and the mental side of the game that's going to set them apart from the rest of their, peers, whether that's within Auburn or outside of in the SEC. And I'm, excited to see that future for them. But from me personally, what I've seen in the, month I've been with them is just countless hours of work, tirelessly just continuing to grind because they want to be great.
Yeah. What stands out about Keldrick Falk? I mean, he's a guy that so many people talked about throughout fall camp and really ever since he stepped foot on campus. But you don't really see true freshmen come in and play as much as he did on the defensive front. But usually that jump from freshman year to sophomore year for guys that are as talented as him is usually pretty substantial. Are you expecting that for him?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I don't want to put any pressure or anything on him, but I know,
Sure.
The path is going to be paved by God, and whatever God has for him, it will be. But, I think what's unique about Keldrick Falk, and just from the outside looking in, people can say, 5-star kid, really big, athletic, played a ton of snaps. But when, we watch the tape, or when I watch the tape, you see flashes of being a dominant player already as an 18-year-old freshman in this league against the best of the best. So you only can imagine when you have that confidence, that age. I talk about those man muscles you get to grow when you're 20, 21. Just him being able to be a dominant player consistently throughout the year. I mean, you see it on tape already, and he's 18 in flashes. And normally guys have flashes, throughout their career, but this is so early for him that, I can almost, it's almost predestined that he's going to be able to do what he do.
Sure.
Consistent. So.
Yeah. Favorite moment at Auburn? Can you narrow it down to one?
Oh man. Personally, it was my first sack. Was the first game of the year, and it was my first time wearing an Auburn uniform. And the first game of the year, and I was able to go out there and represent my family out in the coin toss, and then get my first sack, and it was just amazing. So that was my favorite probably moment personally, just because I had been through a lot. I wasn't sure the last month. The transfer portal was pretty hectic in December, and then just kind of hitting the ground running at Auburn. That whole year was just everything was happening so fast, and I didn't really get able to sit down and, like breathe a little bit. And that was kind of that breathing moment. And then as a team, just being able to connect with those guys in the locker room and become bowl eligible was important to me. Also important to that coaching staff and important to the guys in the locker room because, we wanted to be able to come together and, reach a common goal. Although it didn't finish the way we wanted to, it's guys that came from all the way across the country, almost, 40-something new guys, just barely knowing each other, just trying to come together, represent ourselves and the Auburn, family well. So those are my two favorite moments.
Yeah. A big topic every December outside of the portal and early signing day is, if players should play or not in the bowl game. Did it ever cross your mind to sit out for the bowl game?
No, it didn't. I'm a big believer that you take nothing for granted. I mean,
yeah.
When you were 10 years old, you weren't like, well, I'm only going to play this game and this game because of this, and this circumstance dictates this, and this circumstance dictates that. And that's kind of, how I'm wired as a human being. And that's really it's like a lost art in the world nowadays. Everybody only does things based off if the circumstance can benefit them, whether they want to stay at a school, whether they want to, NIL or commit to school, whatever, like play, everything's predicated off of their circumstance instead of just being who they're supposed to be and show up and be consistent every single day, which is, what I value as a human. And everybody's situation is different. Obviously I would have more things to consider if I was another name guy and, had some guarantees in other areas in life.
Sure.
So I'd have to obviously think about it, and everybody's situation is circumstantial. But for me personally, I do know that I value the ability to finish things out with my teammates, building those bonds, those brothers, and also never taking anything for granted because I didn't have anything growing up, and to take advantage of a game or an opportunity would be disrespectful to the game and everything I worked for.
Yeah. Elijah, it seems like your faith is important to you. And with everything you do, I can kind of see how it impacts you. You talk about leadership and the way, you want to set a foundation, and then with your nonprofit giving back to community. How does your faith play into who you are, not only as a football player, but as a human?
I mean, it means everything to me. It's how I lead my life. And, when people from the outside looking in, can sing my praises and talk about who I am and how I show up for my teammates, my family, my friends, this community, the football team, it's predicated off of two things, and that's confidence and consistency. Like confidence and consistency is important for me because I know I can be confident within myself because I know I'm working for the approval of God, not for the approval of man. So I can walk in every day and be like, well, I'm good. I know who God called me to be, and I'm great. Not in an egotistical way, but I know I'm working towards the approval of him and not for anybody else on this earth or anything. Then that allows me to be consistent and show up every single day which is why I'm able to be voted captain, which is why my teammates can lean on me and, feel this, sense of responsibility to ask of things of me, because they feel, I have that confidence and consistency because I know who's my maker and he's important to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So you've played for multiple head coaches, and it seems like Hugh Freeze's message of faith and really, encouraging his players to pursue Jesus. And it sounds like he brings up almost kind of like sermons in team meetings from time to time. Can you tell a difference culturally with what kind of impact that could have at Auburn?
Yeah, I think it could have a great impact in Auburn, particularly because of where it is and how our community is in Auburn. A lot of times, and not speaking of any head coach I've had previously, but a lot of times head coaches, they make a ton of money. They're at these top programs. They can get any recruit they want pretty much, and they can feel like their life's perfect and nothing can go wrong. And they kind of talk down to players, or kind of can feel like, their word is all. But Coach Freeze teaches us lessons from the Bible and from the book, and allows us to understand that he's not perfect, and that, he's just like every single one of us, son of God and a sinner, and he's going to continue to work towards becoming a better person, like anybody should, every single day in every single way. And that allows us to have more of a respect for him, because he's not coming from a place that he's bigger and better than anybody else. He's coming from a humble place, which is what God will want. And that allows us to respect him more. And then in turn, it allows you to be more comfortable with your head coach, because you feel, okay, he's not talking down to me. Everything's coming from a place of love, coming from a place that God has, spoke to him and continue to teach us the right things throughout every single day. And it allows us to be, a better team. So I think it'll help the Auburn community and the team in the future.
When Freeze got here, it took us, the media, the fan base, it took us like 4 or 5 press conferences to really adjust and understand, like, we don't have to play this whole, this is what he said, this is what he actually meant. Like, he's telling you exactly what he thinks, almost too much, arguably. Yeah. Is he that way in meetings and watching tape and on the practice field as well? And how do players respond to that?
Yes. I mean, he's 100% who he is with you guys, with us, with the coaching staff. He's consistent, and he is who he is every single day. So, I mean, that is funny that you say that, because, in a way, when you're, 18, 19, what a coach says may, rub you the wrong way, but he's being honest with you and coming from a place of love. He's like that in the meeting room and everywhere. So that allows you not to really have to walk on eggshells and wonder what somebody thinks about you, because he's going to tell you straight up, like, this is where you stand in our program. This is what I want from you. This is where I see you. And this is where, you could go in the future if you change your habits and, continue to be better for yourself, for your family, and for this program. So I think it breeds a healthy environment, because you're never second guessing and looking over your shoulder, like, what's going on? How do I operate today? How does this person feel about me? Everybody's honest and upfront. It's an open book.
Elijah, you split snaps with Jalen McLeod, the other standout Jack linebacker this past season. He's returning for another year. What kind of production could we see out of him next year?
Well, like same thing I said with Keldrick. I don't want to put any, pressure, on him. But obviously, once you guys saw he got healthy throughout the back half of the season, what the numbers were, and again, if you take that, what I've seen in practice, I have no problem with outwardly saying that he's going to be a double-digit All-SEC guy. He believes that he will and can be. He has all the ability in the world. He has a coaching staff to do that and the opportunities to do that. It's just a matter of staying healthy and doing it, because, I'm a guy who saw it every day in practice and saw it during the game and played with him, and the types of rushes that, he had and the opportunities that he did leave out on the table, but still, came back with some stats in the end of the year. So I'm confident in his All-SEC ability and his double-digit sack ability.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like there was a lot of really unfortunately timed injuries towards the end of fall camp, and Jalen was one of those guys, and that's just a bummer that happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's next for you, Elijah? What are we working on in regards to the NFL draft?
Yeah, so I'm training right now. Continuing to work towards bettering myself physically, mentally, everything in between. Continue to work to an opportunity to put my best foot forward in pro day, and then we'll go from there. I just left the college gridiron showcase in Fort Worth for the All-Star game, and talked to a handful of scouts, and it was good to kind of get to know where I stand, what I need to work on, in hopes to continue to get opportunity to play the game that I love. And besides that, I'm still taking my PhD courses right now this spring, which is a unique situation, but I'm continuing to learn academically, which I still enjoy. So just doing everything, like I always say, God called me to do, just doing it to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for everything that you've done for Auburn, Elijah, and best of luck with everything moving forward.
Thank you so much. I always appreciate you, your show, your support, and I tune in all the time. I see Jason on here and Hank, so thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much to Elijah McAllister. Thank you so much to Darrell Dapprich for hanging out with us on today's edition of Locked On Auburn. We are over 15,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to all of you. It's incredible. Very, very humbling. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Darrell and I will be back tomorrow. Don't miss it. Click that subscribe button. We'll see you then. This has been Locked On Auburn.